What's going on to all my Disney fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new early movie review, and today we'll be breaking down the 60th Disney animated film in the name of Encanto, a film I got the opportunity to check out the other night, and I'm so excited to let you all know my thoughts on the movie and let you know if it's worth checking out in theaters on November 24th, all in this spoiler-free review. Before we break it all down, do me a favor and check me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed this spoiler-free movie review, well, make sure to like and share the review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate all the support. And in the comments below, let me know if you all were excited for this film, but more importantly, once you've seen it, what'd you think about it? Let's talk about your pros in regards to the story, the characters, the soundtrack, the animation. Did you resonate with this film? Or let's talk about your criticisms. Were you not entertained? Were you bored? Was this a disappointment? Let's talk about that, but also we're talking 60 Disney animated films. We don't have to talk about your favorite of all time, but let me know your top 5 Disney animated films in the last 10 years. Let's talk about those movies in the comments below. So starting this thing off my positive, one of the things that I've really come to appreciate with Disney, especially in the last 5 to 7 years, as well as Pixar as well, they haven't been relying heavily on IP, sharing the same stories, kind of revisiting the same stories, but instead they've went down this new direction with new stories, but more importantly, showing us culture. And I love that element, and I don't think it's coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the 60th Disney animated film, and we all know Disney is all about the magic, and this film is about magic. It's maybe one of the most magical films that I've seen from Disney in a very long time. It's such an enchanting story following this magical family on the mountains of Colombia who have been attached to magic for many, many generations, and they have this kind of ceremony in which when you become 5 years old, you go to this magical door, you open the door, it gives you magic based on your personality, and that's where our main character Mirabel comes into place, because when she has her ceremony, she doesn't get any magical powers. And in this film, we're seeing her on this journey of self-discovery, a coming-of-age story in which she sees at her house that she lives in with her family, which has magical abilities. I love the house and the personality that the house has in this film, but her house and the magic that her family relies on is all going away, so she has to figure out a way how to stop this. And I love the journey that we go on with our main character. Focus on Mirabel here a little bit. Again, she's a 15-year-old who's just so nice. She loves her family. Yeah, she bickers with her sisters, and there's some, kind of expectations that she gets from her grandmother, which I love the kind of narrative that the film kind of poses there, which we'll talk about here in a second. But just seeing her finding who she is as a person, learning her self-worth, and just falling in love with just the possibilities of not having to have this kind of pressure. You don't have to be super special, super strong to be someone that can be appreciated. So I love what she's able to discover, and such a great message to not only see as an adult, but also as a younger youth, because this is an animated film, and I hope that a lot of families take their kids to see this, because this is a good message for younger generation to see as well as people like myself who's up there in age. So I really enjoyed the narrative there. But just from a production standpoint, we have Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's worked with Disney many, many times. More particularly, I think of Moana, which this film definitely has some Moana meets Coco vibes for me. But his soundtrack, man, the score, and just kind of bringing that authenticity from the Colombiana type of music scene, I love what he brought to that soundtrack. There's a couple songs that I love in the soundtrack, but the one that comes to mind right now is a song, I can't remember the actual title, but it involves Bruno and not saying the name of Bruno. So I love the soundtrack. Disney always just pushes the envelope when it comes to animation. This has to be one of the most beautiful animated films I've seen in a long time, and that speaks so highly because just this year we got Raya and the Last Dragon, which that film was awesome and looked gorgeous. But this film, man, the colors, the ripples of the water, just so much richness in the animation, which just blew me away. So production was fantastic. I love our main character. I love her family. All of her family members were all different. They had different dynamics. They had different powers, which was so cool. But it's her relationship that we get with Mirabel, with her uncle, who's been missing for a very long time because he had a little bit of a fight with his family involving his powers and seeing the future and maybe predicting this terrible thing that's going to happen to them. But he goes by the name of Bruno, and I love the relationship between those two because they're outcasts, right? And it's within that being outcast from the family that they're able to see themselves, find themselves, but also find where they can fit in their family, and also having them be able to fit in their other family members who are known to be perfect. They're able to kind of relieve themselves of that pressure just to be able to, hey, I don't have to be so reliant on all these gifts. I can just fit in because this is my family and they love me. So again, it's just so much to take away from the narrative, the themes, the love, and the personality this film has to offer. However, I think this is one of those movies where as the film goes on, it gets better and better and better. And it's not saying that it was like bad to start things off, but it just opens up the world more, which again, when you all see this film, you will be blown away by the animation. There's this one particular moment where we go to the jungle and the colors there, and we go to the sand area. It's just so many magical elements. And again, I can't stress enough how beautiful this film is. But it's the narrative, it's the characters, it's the soundtrack that really kind of put me in a good mood with this film. But there are some criticisms that I have with the movie. I mentioned how the film gets better as it goes on. I have to say, for me personally, I was always engaged and compelled by the story, especially learning the powers and the family and the history. But it took about 15 to 20 minutes to kind of really engage in the story, because it takes about almost into the back half of the first half, going to the second half, until we really hit the ground running. And that's where I felt like the film, more so in the second half, finds its footing, finds its narrative, and that's where the adventure kind of takes place. But again, I appreciate the world building. It just took a little bit for me personally to kind of really get invested in the story. And then another thing that I want to mention, I mentioned how the soundtrack is great. It's a really great soundtrack by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I personally like Moana a little bit more, but there was one song involving Mirabel's older sister who is super strong, and I love her narrative and not having to always be the person that can fix things and rely on her strength. I love that narrative, but her singing, the actress who played that character, I wasn't the biggest fan of that song. That song to me kind of stood out like a sore thumb, because I think the actress that they had play the role wasn't the best singer. Not to criticize her, but just that song didn't mesh well with the other great, fire, awesome songs that we have there. So that's a little bit of a nitpick there. And outside of that, man, there are some things in regards to the story, the actual story, and this is just me being selfish, because I was so invested and just so immersed in the different powers and going behind the doors and seeing the people's rooms. I wish the story was just a little bit more expanded on going outside of the village, because it's really kind of we're only really focusing on the house. And again, the house is super amazing, super great visuals, but I wish we could have maybe explored more of the outside world, and maybe even explore more of the different doors and going behind the different family members and seeing their powers more. Again, it's not a huge detriment to the film. It's just me being selfish, because I was just so immersed in what we got in the screen. I just wanted more from it. So before I give you all my overall thoughts on my score, if you haven't already, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Overall, ladies and gentlemen, Encanto is a film that has so much heart. I think anyone and everyone can relate to the story, even if you're an adult or a kid. Learning who you are as a person, embracing who you are as a person, learning this new culture, being steeped into the culture of Colombia was just such a great journey to go on. I can't speak highly enough of this film. Even with my flaws, I say this is a must watch. If you get the opportunity to see this November 24th on the biggest screen possible, you need to go see this film with yourself, with your family. It's a must see. I'm going to give Encanto a 4.5 out of 5. And that's just my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. I came out of this movie so happy, so immersed in the world. I can't wait to visit it again. We got Disney Plus. Hey, I'm just saying, Disney Plus, let's get more of this universe, whether it's a TV show or a continuation of this film. Let's give it to me, because I really enjoyed it. But that's just my thoughts on Encanto. Let me know your thoughts once you've seen it, your pros, your cons, your favorite Disney films in the last 5 to 7 years. Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you stuck around to this point in the video, I appreciate every single one of you all. Before you leave, make sure if you haven't already to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my future reviews. With all that being said, hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe, and as you can see on the screen now, subscribe to my channel, check out my other content. We'll catch you in the next video.